Hi there and welcome to Bustthenet. Yeah, a quick update on the Kingstonian Diaries, but this has got more to do with the match engine, right? So people talk about. I've been reading threads on the forums, and yeah, naturally, some people are unhappy with three striker systems, for example, or how it is impossible to defend down the flanks and how you can give up easy goals down the flanks. All it takes is a cross, and I read one post on the forums where apparently every single goal he's conceded comes from a cross into an easy cross that's headed into the box. Okay, the thing is, you're gonna concede goals from crosses some of the time. I mean, you're gonna concede goals in a lot of ways. The thing about Football Manager is this: it follows. Some people talk about understanding strategy. I'm not pretending that I'm very good at football strategy, but I've read a lot, and I mean, I'm using a lot of common sense and information that I've gleaned from books that I've read over the years and my conversations with coaches. Now, whenever you play football, I mean, the weakest areas are always going to be your flanks. The areas that you always want to try and control is always going to be the midfield. You're always trying to look at creating situations where you can create good one versus one chances so that you can deliver that cross. Because there's one article that I read once a long time ago where it talked about the assists that final assist. Usually a team is building up play for a long time, and then that final assist is only like 6 seconds, right? That assist, that pass that finds that guy who can deliver that assist. In order for you to get into that kind of a position, I've done videos on overloading, for example. One strategy on how you can overload, and we talk about critical things about finding spaces on the pitch and how important it is that we understand positioning versus off the ball. These are things that are really significant things in the game that we need to understand. Positioning is very important if you're thinking about defending, right? And off the ball is very important if you want to attack. Then we've got the defend duty and we've got the attack duty, and got one duty in the middle called support. Now, whenever you create a tactic, you got mentality that guides how your team is going to play. And then you've got shape, which splits mentality up. And then you've got duties, which do that split as well. But now with the duties, what happens is you are basically telling your team, you're giving strict instructions to your team to do certain things in the game, which refer to defending or attacking or doing a bit of both. When you're playing on higher mentalities, chances are, if you play on a lower shape, you create discipline, you create rigidity, and space. If you play on a higher shape setting, more of the team starts to play as a unit. But then, now we take a look at mentality. If you play on a higher shape setting with a higher mentality, most of your team is going to be taking risks when they move the ball. And if you play on a lower shape setting, then not everybody is going to be taking those kind of risks. However, those players who are going forward to attack, well, we're going to have to depend on them to either find space, work the ball, do that kind of things. And then if you want to play it on fluid, then you're looking at players having the composure to hold on to the ball. You're looking at, then off the ball becomes very important. Composure becomes very important because they're going to have to find space. So many times people have created, the 4-3-1-2 is my favorite tactic, and people have sent me messages and go like, I've got 70% possession with your 4-3-1-2, but I cannot seem to break this side down. What should I do? And I'm going, well, you're playing it on fluid, aren't you? So you're throwing most of your plays, you're camping, then it becomes a question of your own player's ability to do off the ball. It's a question of your ability or spotting weaknesses in the AI. And this brings me to my next point. The match engine itself. The AI manager has he has the same tactical options that you have, but you as the human, you have a lot of ways for you to twist things around in your game. I don't expect SI to code like Cleon into the game, right? Take Cleon's brain and they stick it into the match engine and now you're playing against Cleon. I don't think that's going to happen because there's way too many tactical options and people are going to complain. So the match engine the AI manager's template is actually quite simple from what I can understand. You, on the other hand, you as the manager, you've got so many options. The question then becomes, how do you defend? So when you want to look at the whole game in one perspective, you got to think about how you're going to defend. So the first thing you do whenever you build your tactic is answer that question. Who's coming back to defend? How do I defend? Which are the spaces am I going to lock down? How am I going to control midfield? That's how you defend. Then how do you attack? How am I going to use the ball? How's the midfield going to get the ball up? How are my players in forward positions going to work the spaces? And how do I create situation for them to go and get 1v1 situation? So you got about 8 questions to ask yourself. Now, I've covered some of this in my book, right? But I'm going to just do this video for the benefit of everybody here. So when you are playing a very aggressive tactic, like you play anything above control, right? Then you have to look at your duties, your roles very carefully. Like, for example, I have a wing back here on attack. I'm playing a control mentality. What do you think the wing back is going to do on attack duty? He is always going to look to get up and attack. If I were to play this guy as a defensive fullback, well, then his mentality is lower. He's going to be more on the defensive side of the game. Even if he's a wing back on defend, he's still going to be looking forward for balls to attack, even though his priority is to be defending. But his mentality suggests that he's going to close down a bit earlier because his mentality is higher as a wing back on defend compared to a fullback on defense. So these are things you have to understand. So now you've gone into this game, you're playing on a control structure mentality, and you've decided, I'm going to push up my defensive line. So there you go. You pushed up your defensive line. You have your wing back over there. What do you think he's going to do? When he gets into the game, because he's a wing back, whenever you have the ball, he's going to be in a slightly higher position. Because that's how you build play up. That's the wing back. He has a more attacking orientation. But when you lose the ball, he's going to have to come back to your defensive line, which is wherever you've set it. The thing about him is that because he is on a higher mentality than a fullback, he's also going to close down a bit more aggressively. Now, so what do you do with the wing back? Now, a wing back is going to close down. Like sometimes you see the wing back closing down all the way right in front of the central defender. You're probably screaming at the wing back, what the hell are you doing leaving your spot? Okay, now let's take a look at the wing back's instructions. You have in there the option to tell him to close down much less. So when the ball comes down, what happens then is the wing back holds his position. Now holding his position is just one part of the puzzle. The other part of the puzzle is going to be how do you get the screen in front of the wing back to attack, to close down. This is where you've got to play with the right roles, or you've got to give them PIs to get them to attack. So if you want to play a game where you want to control midfield, you've got to make sure that either like in this particular system, I've got 3 midfielders. They all can tackle. They have decent positioning. They have decent tackling. The Mazzala is decent off the ball. He has decent off the ball. This guy is absolutely staying at the back and doing nothing else. I just want him to hold his own. Now, this is a Kingstonian. We can't expect them to be geniuses with the ball, so I know he's going to be caught up once in a while. But I've got him to play as a halfback because the logic in my head says, well, we're going to be facing a lot of pressure. I want a halfback because the halfback is going to drop a bit deeper. He's going to form a 3, so these boys, under pressure, they'll always have somebody to pass the ball to. The wing back on attack has been told to close down much less. This guy's been told to close down much more. So what happens during a transition when the ball comes down? I'm expecting to see the Mazzala go in to tackle first. Maybe even the playmaker, if the ball is deep enough in our own half, even the playmaker is going to come and help. The Mazzala goes first, and then the wing back goes. See, here I have set my closing down in such a way that the first player to go in is the midfielder, not the wing back. These are things that you have to look for in your tactic. A lot of people claim that the 4-3-3 is overpowered, even when it's used by the AI. Now, when you see a 4-3-3 emerge in a game, what do? Do you change your roles and duties? Well, for me, I have this game here that we played, and the AI changed to a 4-3-3. It was chasing the winner. What we did was very simple. We just turned him into a wingback on support. He kept tracking, even though he kept tracking the targets down the flanks, but we didn't overcommit. We did not concede a goal from a cross once it went to a 4-3-3. Neither did it break through the middle. It did score a goal from a corner. However, our wingback still performed the way I wanted him to perform. So the next time you go into your game and you go and ask yourself a question, am I playing against a match engine or am I playing against an AI manager? Well, let's just think of it this way. This game is meant to be a simulation of football clubs around the world. Now, as I want to try and make the simulation as realistic as possible as far as the results are concerned and how teams are going to go through and perform, which is one of the reasons why SI always likes articles in the newspaper where they like to predict who's going to win the World Cup, for example, and they use the football manager system. Or certain clubs like to check out their players and they put up those little boards and talk about the attribute or guess your attributes. So they love the attributes in the game too. Now, as far as the AI manager is concerned, the AI manager is always going to suck compared to you because you have more tactical options in the game than he does. You got a lot of imagination going for you. So the next time you create your tactic, the next time you want to put your tactic into the game and you want to explore space, think about how individual roles are going to be affected by the mentality, by shape, and their duty when you want them to defend. Because if you can solve that little nugget before you go in and start playing your games, if you start thinking about how your side is going to defend, I guarantee you your games are going to be a lot more fun. My attention is solely focused on how we close down and win the ball when balls are either played over the top or down the flanks. The goal in my system is actually to make sure that my wing backs stay tight, they form a good line of defense, and the first players into the tackle are always going to be my central midfielders. The number of times I heard people go, damn it, why doesn't the fullback close down and tackle hard? And then you see players in Football Manager setting the closing down instructions to maximum for their wing backs. Now, here I have opted not to do that, so this is a very good indication of when we have lost the ball in the opponent's half, my wingback's positioning, how he gets back, and who goes first to tackle the players who have the ball. Here we are in the middle of an attack. The attack is going to break down. Once it breaks down, the AI is looking to launch the ball quickly and take control of midfield. As they do this, notice what happens to my backline. My backline is going to track back because that's what I want. And we are playing with a pushed up defensive line. We're not even playing with a deep defensive line. The goal here is I'm looking to make sure that my wing backs do not close down early. If my wing back closes down early, this guy gets into space. He will just drop across behind the line and we will get into trouble. What I want to see are my three midfielders coming down and closing down the channels, the options that the AI has to pass the ball. What we want to do is force indecision on the ball carrier. So as the ball carrier gets the ball and he brings it down, the wingback holds his position. We've got 1, 2, 3 players closing him down. He's going to have very limited passing options now. If he decides to go down the line, he only has one passing option here. And the defense quickly deals with the danger and the AI is left with a very poor opportunity at goal. The real challenge in Football Manager is recognizing passing lanes and how you want to close them down. Here we have a wingback on attack who's already gone all the way up the pitch, and I'm very confident in how we are going to be able to defend this flank in case we lose the flank, which is one of the reasons why I have a halfback sitting between the two central defenders. My option to use an attacking wingback is secure because I know that when he does drop back, he will not close down early. There's always going to be a risk when you play a wing-back on an attacking duty. But in order for you to mitigate that risk, you're going to have to make sure that you have the right kind of players playing on his side of the flank. These players need to have good positioning. They need to be able to tackle the ball. They need to be brave enough to go in and help him out when you are in a situation where you need somebody to help you defend that flank. So do you defend the flanks the same way? Well, it depends on how you want to play your game. If I wanted to play an aggressive camping game where I'm camping in the opponent's half and I'm going all heavy metal on them, then I don't want my wingbacks to be closing down early. I want them to stay on their feet, get the front guys to do all the hard work, and this is to prevent the wingbacks from losing position. If I was playing with a deep defensive line, I was trying to soak pressure and hit teams on the break, then I'll tell my midfielders and my strike group not to close down too early. Why? Because I want them to hold their positions, allow the team to attack us, make it difficult for them to find position, and then once they get close to my defensive line, my wingbacks close down aggressively and tackle hard. The goal here is to soak and hit with players free to hit. What happens when the AI changes to a 4-3-3? In this particular game, the AI did change to a 4-3-3. Now, when he changes to a 4-3-3, I'm just gleefully excited. Why? Because of one fundamental fact. It's going to leave space behind. He's got three guys attacking me. He's left himself weak. And if it's going to be attacking me, then it's going to leave pockets of space available. And if I'm playing structured, then I want to hit pass into space. All this time, I'm looking at my backline because I know my wing backs are not going to close down early. What I've done here instead is I've told my wing back on attack to go become a wing back on support. So don't be so attacking in orientation anymore. So he forms a nice little line with the rest of my defenders. So the next time you want to create a tactic, think about the defensive side first. How you're going to use positioning for your defenders, how you're going to get them to close down intelligently. The second thing you want to do is figure out how you're going to control midfield. In this particular case, we're controlling midfield fairly aggressively with an orthodox, what I like to call a static midfield with a halfback who also provides support to the two central defenders. Finally, you want to be thinking about how you want to create your chances. Here we're looking at leveraging off the strength of one of our wingers, who is probably the only half decent guy with a cross in our whole team. Well, I hope you enjoyed this look at how to defend the flanks and how to iron out certain defensive issues you might have with your game. If you have any questions, please look me up on Twitter at Bustthenet or addicted2fm.com, my website. Once again, I'd like to thank my patrons for their continued support of this channel. They make these kind of shows possible for the rest of the community. You guys take care, have a good one, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.